So if you saw from the title, I caved. I went ahead and got the Fold 4. As I said in my Ike's Tech Talk weekly live stream, the last one actually, I think I might have preemptively judged the Fold 4 a bit too much. My main complaints with the Fold 3 was cameras and battery life. And it seems like Samsung has made some strides on both of those particular areas. So let's go ahead and take a quick look in first impressions of the Galaxy Z Fold 4 versus the Fold 3. All right, so the way that I want to break down this kind of 24 hours later is going to be into four categories. So I want to break this down and talk design. I also want to talk software. I want to talk battery, and I want to talk about them cameras. So let's go ahead and kick it off and get right into design because there are a few things here that are changed that I think a lot of people will find welcome that I didn't see a lot of other creators talking about, right? So first things first, looking at these front displays. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, Samsung is, increased the width ever so slightly of that front screen. Now, I can definitely say in terms of the hinge being thinner, from the device, you'll see it sticks out a little bit farther, and this bezel here on the Fold 3 shrinking, I definitely feel that the screen feels wider, right? It is wider. Now, I won't say that it's as dramatic as what, some may have you believe. I'm gonna be honest, I have about average to slightly above average hands in terms of just size. And typing on the front cover, I can definitely tell you, while it is a little bit better, when I look at, and we'll go ahead and pull it up here too, when I look at the keyboard on both of these, they honestly look about the same. If I'm being 100% honest, like the keyboards honestly look about the same, right? So if you had trouble with the keyboard on the Fold 3, that's not to say that the Fold 4 is going to be a massive improvement. I kind of take the change in terms of the width as just like icing on the cake or like a cherry on top type of upgrade. It's not something that kind of like changes the experience dramatically, but it is something nice to have and nice to see. The next call out I want to make is something that I didn't see a lot of reviewers covering, and that's the actual panel itself. So if you look at the Fold 3, kind of from the side, you'll see that this is rounded and it's more reminiscent of one of Samsung's like edge displays or curved displays, whereas on the Fold 4, the panel is actually flat. Like it's just a pure flat panel. And I think that that also lends to why the device feels a lot more wider than it actually is, because this feels a lot more wider than the narrow Fold 3 in my opinion. Like the feel of the width I definitely noticed, but in actual practice it doesn't necessarily feel that much more wide. But I think it's because Samsung decided to flatten out the sides on the Fold 4, which, like I said, is a super welcome change in my opinion. I prefer to have it like this. It's going to be easier for screen protectors. It's way easier to deal with the flat screen than it is with the curve. So definitely something I noticed. Another call out I want to make really quick in terms of the design is going to be when you actually open the device, right? So when you actually open the device, and I'll kind of put this one off to the side so the camera can focus, you'll see that this looks flat, right? It looks significantly flat when you open it. Now with Fold 3, I'll do the exact same thing, and there's like an ever so slight curve. And I know from here it might be a little hard to make that out, but there's like an ever so slight curve to the Fold. You can probably kind of catch it there. I know it's a little bit hard to get it in focus, but there's like an ever so slight kind of curve to it. And I also noticed that the Vivo X Fold kind of has a curve as well, where the screen kind of looks like it does like a U kind of shape, or like a V almost kind of. But like I said, the Fold 4, it definitely feels like it is completely flat when you open it. And I personally like that as well. Again, super minor, not something a lot of people are going to notice, but just something that I noticed. So I kind of wanted to make a call out to it. Now, I got both of these panels wide open, and you can already tell Fold 4 is shorter and wider versus taller and narrower. In terms of the aspect ratio, I haven't had it long enough to really definitively say that I prefer the wider aspect ratio or anything like that. So I'm kind of going to leave that for the 2 weeks later. But like I said, in terms of the actual usage, when I have the fold unfolded, I definitely do feel that it is wider than the Fold 3. And like I said, ultimately, I can't definitively say which one I prefer, but like I said, time will definitely tell. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in terms of the design. Now let's go ahead and switch gears and talk about software. So the big change in terms of software, and I'll kind of invoke it here. So the big change when it comes to software is going to be this taskbar here at the bottom. Now open up Twitter there, and you can see you obviously don't have it on the Fold 3. I really hope that this is a feature that the Fold 3 like kind of gets through software. Main reason I say that is because in my opinion, this taskbar is such a game changer when it comes to multitasking on this device. Overall, I think I still do prefer the two separate screens of the Duo 2 for multitasking, but having this taskbar that you can kind of just click and go between your applications, and you can see it's snappy. There's no hiccup, there's no lag, there's none of that when you're switching between apps. You can also kind of take one of these out, and I'll just take Chrome, and you can create your floating windows there, or I can take it here and create a split screen here, right? And I feel like you having this type of feature front and center, it's what's going to make a lot of people who may not use split screen actually give it a try because the feature is front and center, right? I honestly think if you're buying this type of device, like a foldable, split screen multitasking or just multitasking in general is something that you're definitely gonna do, right? So overall, from a software experience, that's the thing I noticed in terms of outline. Now, just in terms of UI performance, and you probably could have picked it up there. The animations are changed. The animations that I see on the Fold 4 definitely remind me of the animations on the Galaxy S22 Ultra on the One UI 5 beta. Now, that could be a huge reason why you're seeing so many people report that, the device feels so much more snappy, so much more responsive, so much more fluid because it's bringing in those newer animations, right? So, like I said, most people, it's not going to be that big of a deal, but I definitely notice a difference in terms of day-to-day performance, how fluid it feels. I can be running 3 applications and 2 floating windows, and it still performs just as responsive and just as fluid. So, super happy that Samsung is taking that serious, especially with a device like this where you're going to be doing quite a bit. But let's go ahead and move on and talk battery. Now, I can't say anything definitive, right? I can't say anything definitive just because I haven't had the device long enough. It's still learning my usage, right? But what I can say is this morning I took the phone off the charger at 7:20, 7:30 in the morning. I was literally on the phone all day until I literally got it down to 1%, right? So I'll go ahead and show the screenshot for that. And this was the usage here. So as you guys can see, I literally pushed this thing to the absolute limit that I could. You can see Zoom call, which Zoom and Microsoft Teams are super intensive when it comes to your battery life. I'm running multiple Teams channels, running my entire Zoom call for work, had some YouTube thrown in there. Obviously you guys can see Twitter there as well. So quite a bit in terms of the usage. And I'm literally sitting at 5 hours and 23 minutes of screen on time, 6 hours of total usage. Again, running 3 applications at the same time for 5.5 hours. I definitely didn't expect this device to last that long. My Fold 4 with the same test, I ran it about a week or two ago. I didn't record the battery stats. I know. I'm sorry. I wish I would have done that, but it wasn't even half of this. It was maybe 3 hours or so, or I guess that's a little over half, but it was about 3 hours in terms of screen on time. Total usage, I honestly don't remember. But just to see that type of improvement in this device is still learning my usage. It's still learning my usage patterns. So, like I said, you guys can kind of see that usage there and kind of gauge it for yourself. But I really push this device, and that's not even including, and you can probably see a lot of them here, a lot of the photo samples that I took today. So I'm in a Zoom call while also going out taking photo and video samples and doing all that. So I really pushed this device. Like I really pushed it. I don't think I've ever pushed a device that hard on that first charge cycle. So I'm super impressed by what I saw there. It should only get better as I just start using the device how I normally would use my phone. Because I honestly didn't do that with this usage. I just blasted full throttle, wanted to see how long the battery would last. So definitely a good job in that regard. Again, nothing definitive because I haven't had the device long enough. Once I have it for those full 2 weeks and I come back to you guys, I'll definitely make sure that I drop another usage screenshot. That way you guys can kind of see kind of where we're sitting at originally to where we're getting, now currently once the device learns my usage. And then the last thing I want to cover has to be these cameras on the back, right? So, like I said before, one of my biggest kind of contentions with the Fold 3 had to be the camera system. The Fold 3 never felt like a device that I could truly carry on its own. I always felt like I had to carry a companion device to take, all my photos or to kind of mitigate the battery life. But Fold 4 so far seems as though it could be that all-in-one device that I could take with me and get great pictures and not really have to micromanage the battery. Now, obviously, with any device, if you're doing something super intensive, you got to expect that that battery will drain and you're going to have to charge it. But just with normal moderate usage, it definitely seems as though you could get through a full day, which is all I'm asking for, right? Now, back to the camera situation. So, camera setup between these two, the major changes come with the main lens. They went from a 12 megapixel sensor to a 50 megapixel sensor. Now, we know that sensors and megapixels don't tell the entire story. So what I'm going to do is actually show you guys some samples. I took quite a few, and here's kind of some of the findings that I found between these two cameras. So in normal daylight shots, the biggest notice or the biggest difference that I noticed between the two had to be the fact that it doesn't it like the pictures coming from the Fold 4 don't look like Samsung just, took a picture and cranked up the saturation kind of meter or toggle or whatever to the max, right? The pictures don't look as saturated. They look far more natural. And then in terms of like HDR is way more consistent than it ever was on the Fold 3. The detail is on point. Even portrait mode got those new kind of algorithm changes from the S22 Ultra that we all love. So that's a good thing to see too. The biggest area where I saw the most improvement, though, has to be with low light. Not only are you getting brighter shots, but it's also taking the Fold 4 significantly less time. Take a look at this photo that I took here on my normal nightly walk. Now, you'll obviously see the Fold 4 is the brighter shot, and a lot of people would think, well, you do have a bigger sensor. It might have taken a longer time to expose. Well, it didn't. The Fold 3, which is, here on the left, took exactly, I want to say 4 seconds to get this shot. Super dark, definitely not usable in my opinion. Fold 4 got the brighter shot, which you can see on the right, and that one only took me 3 seconds to get. So you're getting less time to actually take the photo, which means less time that you have to sit still, but you're getting a brighter result. And that kind of seemed to reign true throughout all the samples I have. So like I said, I'm just going to flash those samples across so you guys can kind of gauge it and judge it for yourself. But I am seeing some major camera improvements with the Fold 4. So I am all on board for Samsung to go ahead and improve this device to make it kind of that one-stop shop. You got a great camera, you got great battery life, you got great feature set, right? So ultimately, so far, I am liking what I'm seeing with the Fold 4. I'm obviously going to continue to test it and give you guys kind of my coverage and kind of my conclusions and things like that. So definitely be on the lookout for a 2 week later. Hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss that. And a couple camera comparisons with some heavy hitters that I'm sure you all will want to see. But as always, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ike's Tech Talk. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.